Hello, everyone. Everyone, my name is Erica Burnett, founder of the She Can Say It podcast. Welcome this evening. If you're watching, I'm on here with, she's no longer a guest. She is now a permanent member. I said mender. uh,
Fixture.
Dr. Sheila A. Olive, Apostle Dr.
Yes.
Sheila A. Olive. Welcome, Sheila.
Yeah. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's good to be back. I've been enjoying my conversation with you and also enjoying um, the feedback that we've been getting from our conversations on the different platforms. So I'm grateful to God for allowing me another opportunity to be with you tonight.
Wonderful, wonderful. Glad to hear it. I'm so glad to have you here. We have a nice little conversation, and this is like a part two for dating after loss. And I'm just going to bring up a few points before we get started.
Okay.
So this for all of you, this is dating after loss part two. I posted part one already. This is part two. And we're going to open with some, just some bullet points. Dating after loss, this is very true, is not just about finding someone new. It's about learning yourself again. Very true.
Mhm.
Loss changes how you love, trust, communicate, and protect your peace. That's also very true. And
Mhm.
healing and dating can exist in the same season, but healing must remain the priority. Because
Mhm.
after you have gone through a loss, whether it's divorce or you become a widow, you grieve and you need to heal. And a lot of people don't heal. They just jump from one relationship into the next and they wonder why it doesn't work because you're not ready. But we're going to get started with our first segment and question. And I want to ask Sheila to give her thoughts on this question or a response. Who are you now? And this is after you have lost, whether it's divorce or your loved one has passed. So we have the question, who are you now?
I don't know if the audience heard me take a big sigh after you asked that question, but just that small question brought up just a throw of emotion because you have to think back beyond the loss to who were you before you joined with that person, that situation, and then during that situation, who did you develop into? And then how did that loss affect you and change you? And now we get to the question, who am I now? So that question has to come from a lot of retrospective thinking. Who am I now? I am the person who has been not shaped and developed by my loss. I'm the person who has developed from my healing. And so, after I was divorced the second time, saw a therapist, and that therapist told me to get a legal tablet, one of those old yellow legal tablets, and write down everything that I liked. And just keep writing until you just exhaust your thinking process. And so, I like ice cream. I like rainy days. I like frost on my window in the winter, just all the things like that you like. She said, because after you go through a divorce, the pain takes away all of your passion for life. And so you have to work on regaining that passion. So I went through this exercise, and maybe 7 pages later, she said, go back and read over your list. You may be surprised of some of the things that you had forgotten about liking during your relationship and during your process of pain, um, that you actually like. You may have forgotten you like those things, and it may reignite some passion for your life. So I am who my healing has shaped me to be. I am I am 66. I am seniored, and I am sassy, and I'm passionate about life. Um, I'm youthful at heart, um, loving, kind, inquisitive. I'm very inquisitive. I always ask questions. My mechanics hate that, because they don't want it. They don't want to give away their
Right.
secrets.
Yeah. All of them hate that. All of
So, an inquisitive woman can sometimes be to a man, and the wrong man can be annoying, but to the right man, it can be it can be a part of romantic uh, kindling.
them.
Because sometimes the right man will want to know, where will your curiosity lead? So, those things have come out of me processing my healing. Um, and it's important. It's important that you take time to heal. Don't rush your healing. It's not an overnight process, because guess what? You didn't get where you are in your pain process overnight. So you're not going to get healed overnight. Take your time, invest in your own healing, because you can't expect anyone to do the work. Nobody is going to come in and pick you up and heal you, except God. Yes, that's possible. But I mean, no physical human being, because oftentimes in our pain process, we look to physical human beings to affirm us, or and that's only medicating your process, right? It's anesthetizing, looking to anesthetize the pain that you're feeling with words of affirmation.
Mhm.
And you really need to do your own work. You need to invest in yourself. Find out who you are, where your passions lie, what are your interests, where do you want to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Start setting some long-term and short-term goals for yourself. And those things, doing them daily, doing something toward your healing, to invest in your healing daily, will help you process out of pain.
Wonderful, wonderfully said. You made a point that stuck out to me when you said sometimes when you are in a relationship for a long period of time, something like that, where you said you lose your passion for life.
Yes.
Absolutely. You absolutely do. I was just sitting here thinking, and because you're so enmeshed with that person,
Hmm.
you two are together and you're operating as one.
Yes.
So you do forget a lot of times what you like singly, meaning, what did I like before we got together? And so
Yes.
now you have to recall all of that stuff, and you may not remember, you may remember, you may not remember. But
Hmm.
that's interesting. You absolutely do. And I'm not saying you're not supposed to be meshed with your partner. You are. You husband and wife are supposed to operate as one. You are supposed to be as one.
Hmm.
At the same time, I do believe God wants you to have your own personality, your own character, your
Mhm.
purpose, because you were single before you got married. He created alone
Mhm.
before you met this person. So now you're just going back to where you started in the beginning.
Mhm.
So you should, which would help with, it would help with the healing process that
Mhm.
that you have your own life. So if your the relationship doesn't work or your partner passes, you can still move on and not possibly go into a deep depression.
Mhm.
Um, you know, your life is now, it's not at a standstill. You know, you're still volunteering at a nonprofit organization, or you're still running a business, or you're still heavily involved in family and things like that. If you have those things in place,
Mhm.
normally when you're in a relationship, I'm not saying it'll take away all the pain, because it,
Mhm.
you know, I went through a divorce and I grieved not afterwards, I grieved during,
Mhm.
which I'll talk about a little later, but I grieved during, while we were still married, I grieved because my
Mhm.
heart knew it was over.
Yes.
So I'm still there in the house with my ex-husband, grieving.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not saying that's any worse than anyone else's, but I had to sit there because but at that time I had started my business.
Mhm.
So I was already into something. And it's amazing how I started to grow as a person and change while I was in the marriage.
Mhm.
That's not why it didn't, that's not why it didn't work. But, you know, that's something that, you know, is important. Your self-identity is important. You don't lose that. You're born with your self-identity. You should maintain
Mhm.
self-identity throughout life.
Mhm.
Like I said, it will purposely, it will help. It will help with that. It won't, you know, completely get rid of it, but it definitely will help. So when you, that stood out when you said something
Mhm.
about passion for life, you lose your passion for life.
I think what you're identifying is the difference between compromising and complementing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship,
Yep.
we um, bring we bring 100% of ourselves into the relationship. And some people say, well, a relationship is 50-50. No, it's not. Because if you're only bringing 50% of yourself
Mm-hmm.
into that relationship, that's half of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to bring your whole self in. That's everything. That's all of your good things and all of your bad things. And as that relationship develops, you come to places where the Bible says that we are jointly fit together as the body of Christ, right? So that means interlocking.
Mm-hmm.
So when complementing each other in a relationship is being able to interlock without any movement or um, without wounding each other, complementing.
Mm-hmm.
Compromising, on the other hand, is yielding to the desire of another,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we know that sometimes in some relationships that can be detrimental
Mm-hmm.
because it takes away from you and your desire. Um, for instance, if you're in a narcissistic relationship
Mm-hmm.
and your partner, spouse, is always requiring that you compromise to them because they are the stronger figure, then that's causing you to lose out on your identity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's usurping one person's desire over the other. But if you have a relationship where you and your partner, your spouse, are jointly fit together and you're working with the same amount of pressure on both sides,
Mhm.
then that's going to work.
Mhm.
You're going to be able to navigate most issues without tension, without friction. And so it's important in a relationship, like you said, that you do not lose your identity, and you know, don't allow, if you recognize that you're in a narcissistic relationship, don't allow that person to take away who you are, and don't allow them to usurp themselves over you, and cause you to become oppressed, where you no longer have desire, or your desire is not important.
Mhm. Yeah, because it happens a lot. It happens a lot. I hear so many stories
Hmm.
where people feel like they're just less than and they're just in the relationship and just coasting along. Have
Right.
they know, just it's a little scary. It's a little
Yeah.
scary.
Right.
Um, that said, we are going to move on to which actually that's a good segue into the
Hmm.
difference between being lonely and being ready to date.
Hmm.
Because missing companionship is not the same as being ready for a relationship.
Hmm.
Some people want to fill their loneliness with someone, so they're hoping that new person will fill a void.
Hmm.
A new person or any person can't fill a void that you feel for losing a partner to death or the relationship didn't work.
Hmm.
That's something that's a lot of people do. They jump from being widowed or out of
Hmm.
relationship, divorced, right on into a new one without taking
Right.
time, like you said, to heal, which is a priority. You don't
Yes.
want to take all your preconceived notions about relationships that you've had with your previous partner over to someone new who doesn't
Hmm.
know you. You guys have to get to know one another. And we tend to sometimes have high expectations of what we want from this new person, and we want them
Hmm.
to fit the shoes or fill the shoes of the previous person, which is
Right.
comparison, which is not a healthy thing to do because they're completely different. So how do you feel about loneliness, the difference between loneliness and readiness? What's your take?
Um, I think the difference between loneliness and readiness is time.
Mm, mhm,
Let's look at what the Bible says. The Bible says that Mary and Joseph were spoused to each other.
mhm,
There were no engagements in those days. There were engagements. The engagements started when you were young. It
mhm,
was families promising their children to each other. So that was engagement, but there was no dating. Okay. So when you became of age, then that man, young woman was given to that young man, a ceremony was held, and they would go off and begin to live life. So there was no getting to know each other, there was no preparation. It was just wham bam, thank you, ma'am, for lack of a better term, and so the difference, I believe, right now, today, in the society we live in today, the difference between loneliness and readiness is time.
mm,
Time between your loss and you finding out who you are, because you're never really alone if you think about it.
right.
um, if you desire conversation, um, we just pick up these smartphones that we have that are entertaining us 24/7. Um, if you desire, freedom from your immediate surroundings, you can go out to some place and you can find different surroundings. So it's purposeful and intentional time that takes us from loss to healing,
Mm-hmm.
and from healing to, I don't call it loneliness, I call it being who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible talks about I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
God Jehovah is I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the characteristics that God personifies are the suffix of the I am. So if he is victory, he is Jehovah Nisi. I am your victory.
Mm-hmm.
If he is healing, he is Jehovah Rapha. I am your healer. So to me, coming full circle is knowing who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, being a believer, being a Christian, surrendering my life to Christ again, renewing and deepening my relationship and my intimacy with Him again, to fortify who He created me to be ultimately. Because sometimes, we get off into a relationship and we're unequally yoked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we lose sight of who we are in Christ. And then we lose our identity because we overcompromise in a relationship. We allow our stronger partner to usurp themselves over us. And so we come out of that, like you said earlier, with an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to circle our wagons. We have to come back around full circle to God. Who did you create me to be? Show me myself, and help me to walk in line with your plan for my life. So I am, and then that I am, as we heal and as we find out, recall who we are, it brings us to a place of readiness.
Mm-hmm.
And that readiness is confidence that you can bring to the table. I remember one gentleman asked me, what do you want what are you looking for? Okay. And I gave him a description of what I was looking for, and he was like blown away. He said, I've never talked to a woman who told me what they wanted before
Oh,
and
wow.
was so clear and concise about what they wanted. Well, if you take that time, right, you'll be able to know what you want in a relationship, really. Okay? Because this is not an espousal, it's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you being promised to somebody by your parents. This is you going into a relationship knowing what you want and knowing who you are, and that makes the difference.
Mm-hmm. And the only way you're going to know that is if you spend time with your father.
Yes.
It's the one who gave you your character.
Yes.
He created you, so he already knows what's in you.
Yes.
So it's important that you take that time so he can remind you, this is the life I had for you. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's time to do the work and let's move forward. And you'd be surprised. I hear so many stories. I actually had I was shopping in Whole Foods supermarket, and
Mm-hmm.
for some reason a man walked up to me and he said, "You remind me so much of," I think it was either his family member, his sister or something like that. And he
Okay.
just started talking out of nowhere about purpose. He just
Mm-hmm.
started talking, and this was when I was sort of newly divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, I wasn't even looking for my wife. I just so happened to be actively in my purpose that God had for me. And I was on a business trip and I was speaking and I look across the room, there she was. Now this,
Mhm.
and I said, nobody but God. I said, this man struck up a conversation. I have no clue who this man was. I don't know why
Right.
he started talking about his wife and how he met her. And I said, that's how God operates. He
Yes.
sends people through your path while you're single. Now, while you're divorced or even single before you get married or have a partner, whatever. And what he does is see, he sends people to give you messages about where he wants you to go. So he's leading you throughout your life. And you
Mhm.
want to know why these people just pop up all of a sudden and they know what you're thinking before you don't even tell them, you don't even know these people, they're strangers. And they
Right.
come to you and start a conversation. And one more, and there was a lady, I was in a nail salon years ago, just divorced. All
Hmm.
of a sudden, she started talking about how, she prayed to God and she was very specific about what she wanted. And she said a couple of weeks later, there he was,
Mm.
that they were married, have been married happily for years. I did not ask
Mm.
this woman about how she met her spouse or none of this stuff. I'm sitting there getting at the thing, drying my nails. And she just started talking. And the next time I saw her, she did not even like know who I was. That's
Mm.
how you know you
Mhm.
are never alone. You might feel like you're alone, lonely, no physical person in front of you and all this stuff, but you're not. Your father is guiding you through this process so he can get you to where you need to be, so he can actually give you that new partner or not. Everybody, some people may not marry a second time. Some people may, live this life out in their purpose, what they were called to do. And that's fine. Some people I've met are completely happy, completely,
Yes.
and you can find happiness and joy in
Hmm.
living your purpose.
I know that
Mhm,
as you were talking about um, living in your purpose, I
mhm.
thought about Jeremiah 29:11 because that's a really familiar scripture that everybody, believers and unbelievers, know that scripture.
Mhm,
And it says that God has a plan for us,
mhm.
basically.
Yep.
And during the time when that scripture, Jeremiah was talking to Israel, Israel was in captivity. And
Mhm.
so Israel was complaining, oh, we've been here so long. How long? It was whining like our kids with us in the grocery store. My kids, how long are we going to be here? Is it time to go? Are we there yet? That's what Israel was doing. Are we there yet?
Yep.
They were having a temper tantrum. And God told Jeremiah to tell Israel to settle themselves
Mhm,
because he has a plan. He
mhm,
said, what I want you to do is stop complaining about where you are and start living where you are. And sometimes we look at our situation after loss and we begin to complain because things are not ideal, things are not perfect, our dreams have been dashed against the stones.
mhm,
And um, we find ourselves lost.
mhm.
But we've got to live in the moment, be present in that moment, and thrive. Begin not to just survive in that moment, but thrive in that moment. And you find that as you take your focus off of all of the things that are wrong and
Mhm.
just begin to be present, you'll begin to find peace developing in your everyday life. Does it mean anything has changed? No, not necessarily. Nothing may have changed, but you've changed in the midst of your situation. And
Mhm.
that's what Jeremiah the prophet was trying to get Israel to do, change in the midst of your captivity. For us, what that means today is Be present in what you've experienced. And as you be present, you'll find your peace. And your peace will navigate you to your healing, and your healing will navigate you to your place of readiness.
That's a good point. And I listened to when you said, be happy in that moment and heal and all that. And I find the reason why a lot of our sisters cannot is because they're comparing themselves to everyone else that they
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
You're on social media and you see these women who you believe have this glamorous marriage, this wonderful marriage, and they have the man of their dreams and all that stuff.
Mhm.
I'm happy for anyone who is happy in a happy, healthy, marriage relationship. But we
Mhm.
have to realize that you are not that woman, and that woman's journey is different than yours.
Mhm.
And you cannot compare yourself as well. On the other hand, you don't know what's going on in that marriage.
Right.
It could be a good one. It could not be a good one.
Mhm.
But you have to stick to your journey, not someone else's journey. You don't know what that person had to give up, had to go through in order to have what they have. You're
Mhm.
not equipped for their life. They're equipped for their life. Your journey is different. So you got to focus on what's in your lap in the, like you said, Sheila, in the present moment. Be
Stay present.
be present, and that's very important for you
Mhm.
to move forward in joy or in happiness. You will
Mhm.
always look for something more to satisfy you, and you will always be searching, and that will make you frustrated and unhappy.
Yes, comparison is a curse
Yes, it
because,
is.
like you said, you can never you can never become the person you're looking at,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you're different. The trajectory of their life is different.
Mm-hmm.
Different circumstances, different financial, social, economic situations, different background, upbringing. You can't be them, and they can't be you. I used to always say, as a teenager, late teenager, early 20s, I developed this mantra that I used to say all the time: I can't be anybody else.
Right.
It's too hard.
It is.
It's too
Absolutely.
hard. While you're striving, and you said something very, very important. Comparison leaves you unsatisfactory. It leaves you with a hole because you're climbing, 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 striving, 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 wanting to be that other person and never arriving,
Mhm. Mhm.
never getting there, because you can't become them. God has made us all individuals, and he has a plan for each and every one of us. I said he has the biggest file cabinet in heaven ever. Okay, because he's keeping files on all of us,
Okay,
right?
yes, absolutely.
He's got a database that's beyond comparison. Okay, so and he's able to keep up with who we are. When I go to him, he knows me.
Mhm.
And when you go to him, he knows you. We are individuals,
Mhm.
and he made us individuals for a reason. And when you travel around this world, when you go to different countries, you understand the multiplicity of God and how he created so many cultures in who love so many different things and create so many different things. You begin to understand the mind of God and how vast
Mhm.
it is.
Mhm.
So if there's all this big giant world available to us, Why are you focusing yourself on the neighbor next door, and because they're driving a Mercedes, and and they're getting their lawn manicured every week, and
That doesn't even sound right, does it? That
be,
just does not. I'm and the thing about
be who you
it,
are.
it creates jealousy too. That's why
Yes,
you have a lot of our sisters are jealous of one another because they're so busy looking at them and they want what they got and they think they got something, and when they get over there, they find out they had nothing that you should even been a part of
right,
to begin with. That's where jealousy and envy and all that stuff comes in. That's why we criticize one another on social media. We always have
right.
something negative to say about one another and the choices that we make. Instead
Mhm.
of, if you have a word of advice for your sister or something like that, instead of pulling her to the side or dropping her note in the inbox, you
Mhm.
want to, you don't want to give words of encouragement. You just want to, browbeat your sister for whatever reason, because excuse me, not for whatever reason, because you're jealous of her, because you're watching her on social
Mhm.
media and everything that you believe she has. You have no
Mhm.
idea exactly how her life is. You only see a portion of her life.
Yes.
Don't see everyone's life. They show you the highlight reels. They don't show you what goes on behind the scenes. So it really is like a waste of time and energy, something you could be pouring into yourself to figure out what it is that you want, what you want to do, what your purpose is in life.
Yeah, social media is one of the killers of peace to me.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because like you said, we're only seeing snippets. We're
Mhm.
seeing 30 seconds, we're seeing 60 seconds, we're seeing 2 to 3 minutes of a person's 24-hour day.
Right. Uh,
Now they could be on there, and it's funny because I'm gonna just be transparent to
uh,
our audience.
uh,
Okay, for me, I was running around like crazy prior to getting on camera with you because I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot. I got involved in something else, and then a phone call created a conversation, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. I've got to do the podcast. So I'm running around trying to get myself together, fixing my hair, putting my face on. And and then here I am now. Like if I hadn't told you that, you would have never known.
I know.
And so what we see in front of the camera is an optical illusion.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's an optical illusion. So um live in just be present in your moment. Be present in your moment and enjoy the peace that that moment offers.
Mhm.
That's all we can do
That's it. That's it. And that's really all we should do in the moment. You'll be
in
so
the
much more at
moment.
peace when you do that.
Hmm.
Oh, we're gonna move to the next topic. Not topic, but segment. Dating with boundaries instead of blindness.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay. Boundaries instead of blindness. That's a deep one, because I know a lot of our sisters, including myself, have made many mistakes by not having boundaries. In all honesty, I didn't know you need any, because I didn't have that conversation with anyone growing up, especially around dating and relationships. I kind of learned off the cuff. And a boundless life, when you don't have any boundaries, you are open to all sorts of things. And most of those things are negative things.
Hmm.
Um, and it's almost, people can sniff out folks who do not have boundaries. I mean, that means you're open and you accept anything, meaning any behavior.
Hmm.
Um, Good or bad, mostly it's bad. You accept it all. You're the person who wants to be there for everyone. Someone asks you to do something, you're the person who always says yes. And that was me. From what
Mhm.
I got, no one taught me, but my perception in growing up is that you always do for people. You're always nice to people. You always give to people and stuff like that. I had to learn through
Mhm.
business when I started my business on putting boundaries in place, that it was important because people will use you if you don't have boundaries.
Mhm.
People will sniff you out and they'll see something that they want and they'll go ahead and be nice and kind to you until they get it. And then after
Mhm.
they get it, they're gone.
Mhm.
So it's very important. It's very important for you to have boundaries and not be blind, because
Mhm.
you'll make so many mistakes and
Mhm.
so far behind in life. And it's not a happy place to be at all.
Mhm.
Thank Miss Sheila.
Think living or entering a relationship, dating relationship with no boundaries is
Mhm.
like going to Europe without a plan.
There you go.
It's like being in Europe as a tourist and looking like a tourist. You can tell a tourist
Mhm.
from someone who is homegrown, because tourists are always looking around.
Yeah.
They have this I'm lost look on their face,
Yeah.
and they're always asking questions. Not that asking questions is a bad thing if you're asking the right questions,
Mhm.
but I'm just saying, going into dating with no boundaries um, leaves you lost.
Mhm.
It leaves you lost.
Mhm.
You don't know where you're going. You don't have an idea. Like I said, when that gentleman asked me, "What are you looking for?" and I was able to answer him with a concise answer, it blew him away. I knew where I was going. I knew where what I wanted. And in order to set proper boundaries, we have to know what we want.
Mhm.
And the blindness comes from a couple of things. I would say blindness would come from avoidance of previous traumas.
That's a good
So
one. I
I
had
don't
another word in mind. Go ahead.
I don't want to face what I went through right before, so
Mhm.
I'm going to ignore this red flag.
Mhm.
Okay. He carrying a gun, but maybe it's just for his protection. He got a machete in the back seat of his car, but maybe he was just chopping down a tree. I'm exaggerating, but sometimes the red flags can be just that clear. And we want to ignore the red flags
Mhm.
because we're so desperate for a relationship.
There you go. That was the word I was on. Desperation.
Desperation
Yeah,
causes
it
blindness.
sure does. I want me a man. I gotta have a man.
Mhm.
Just had one. You just had a man. Why?
Right.
Yes, you need what? But you know what? It's and the Bible speaks about that. It speaks about that we will be, I think it's in Genesis. It says that we will, I cannot quote it. I'm not going to say it, but it speaks about that. And I'm going to have to put that in the comments underneath this video. There is
Mhm.
a scripture in Genesis when Adam and Eve were in the garden and
Mhm.
Satan, tricked Eve into eating this fruit from the tree. And God said, okay, he had a conversation with them and pretty much saying, you will forever, it had to do with the husband. I cannot remember that you will either be not subject to your husband, it was another word, but I can't remember.
Mhm.
But and I'm definitely gonna find it, but we, for some reason, I think growing up, that's all we knew. Not that we
Mhm.
were taught, but I think that's all we knew because all we saw was, you know, our friends and stuff had boyfriends.
Yeah.
And you got family members asking, when you gonna get married? And when you gonna
Right.
have children? And that's all we heard. That's all I
Right.
heard growing up. Like,
Right.
he date nobody. And when I got
Right.
divorced, you still single? You ain't dating nobody? And
Hmm.
what's the I'm like, what's the is it a bad thing for you to be
Yeah.
alone for a bit?
Yeah.
Because I welcomed it now. When I was younger, I wanted to be in a relationship all the time. I just had to
Hmm.
have somebody and stuff like that. When I got divorced, I was so happy. And this has nothing to do with my ex-husband. I was just happy. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I embraced being single. I went through
Hmm.
the emotions of, oh, I'm alone now. I did go through that. And I did go through a period of sadness and stuff like that, saying, I didn't wish for my life to end up this way. Because when we get married, we marry for life. I don't know
Yeah.
a woman who does not marry for life. We are not
Yeah.
to get divorced once we get married. We don't see it anywhere in the future.
Hmm.
So when you get divorced, it's like a woe is me. It hits you.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you go along, you begin to enjoy the freedom of it. There's
Hmm.
you now are responsible for yourself. You get to wake
Hmm.
up, you get to enjoy whatever it is you want to enjoy. There's peace.
Hmm.
Leave something is still there, and you don't have to worry about nobody touching anything because it's still in place. You're not
Yeah.
responsible for anyone's like emotions and feelings and stuff like that, especially when you're not equipped. I was not equipped.
Right.
Not equipped is much more of a burden
Yeah.
when you are
Oh,
not equipped to handle another person's energy
yes.
in a relationship. That's a huge responsibility. And if you're not ready for it, you should not be even thinking about dating. That is
Mhm.
something that you have to work on, and it comes through life experiences that God
Yeah.
walks you through, and He takes you through certain scenarios to kind of build your character,
Hmm.
strengthen certain aspects of you. The ones that are weak, He strengthens through certain aspects. And then when you meet that experience, and
Hmm.
it's kind of easy for you, like, oh, that went well. Well, you don't went through training. You've already been
Hmm.
through your training. So when it came up, you were well equipped. So it was no big deal. You got to go through
Hmm.
your training. And that's all it is. It's your training.
Hmm. Hmm. You know, soldiers
Mhm.
who are fighting in battle now, they've gone through extensive training. You
Mhm.
go through basic training, you through advanced training. And then after your training, you go into the battle arena or, out into the field. And you don't pick up a gun and begin to, just automatically do what you've previously been trained to do. You kind of have to start all over again when
Mhm.
you get out into the battle arena. So, our experience after our loss, it's when our lives become the training ground all over again.
Mhm.
Like we said earlier, we're learning again who we are.
Mhm.
And until you know, perfect that process, um, it'll actually be more detrimental for you to jump into a dating relationship. So, again, I want to reiterate to those of you who are watching, take your time.
Mhm.
Like there's no hurry. Okay, so some women may say, "Oh, I hear my biological clock ticking." Take the battery out.
Ah, love it. Love it. Take
Take
the
the battery
battery
out
out.
of the watch
Okay. Mhm.
because you are you healing is more important than you acknowledging your biological clock and where you think you are on your timeline. I'm doing my quotation marks,
Mhm.
on your timeline,
Mhm.
because it's not your timeline, it's God's timeline
There you
for
go.
you.
There you go. Mhm.
So, stop hurrying yourself by comparing yourself, because people, like Erica said, are pressuring you into, you're not dating yet. Oh,
Mhm.
you don't have a man.
Mhm.
Be present
Mhm.
in your moment and do the work.
Mhm.
Invest in yourself,
Mhm.
heal, set your boundaries,
That's right.
um, learn who you are, learn what you want. I can't emphasize. Did I say that? Let me see. Mute button off. Learn, learn what you want and who you want. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Who do you want? That's another thing. We haven't even mentioned that yet, Erica.
Right.
When we were when I was young, a light-skinned man with some pretty eyes could sweep me away to
That's it.
heaven.
That's it. That's all
Oh,
you wanted. He just had to be attractive. I was the dark,
yes.
the bald head, me and the bald head and the beard.
Uh,
That was me.
any light-skinned man with
Okay.
pretty eyes could sweep me. Because one of my first boyfriends was light-skinned and had beautiful eyes. I used to just look in his
Just sit
eyes
there and
all
say,
the time.
just look.
Yeah, he didn't even have to do anything.
Just
Just
sit there and look at him.
let me look at you.
Just let me
Let
just
me
get a
look
let me
at
get a
you.
peek. Okay.
Yeah. But now,
Yeah.
being older, having lived life, my priorities are totally different now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to have a job.
Okay.
You got to have, are your teeth your own?
Oh, okay. Please don't open that and I see.
It's there. I'm saying, I'm being comical,
I know.
but
Yeah,
I'm emphasizing the fact that when you're older, your priorities become different,
they do. Mhm.
and you have to allow your priorities to be different because you're in a different space, headspace,
Mhm.
and you're in a different life space.
Mhm.
So we have to allow our priorities to be different and, pull down some of those preconceived expectations that we had from when we were younger. Because, you marry a light skinned man with light eyes, and you don't know who he is or where he came from or anything. He could turn out to be another Jeffrey Dahmer,
Okay.
you know,
Go.
or something like that. So, you know, really know the kind of person,
Mhm.
know the kind of person, and you know, learn the person. Give yourself time to learn the person and let the person learn you.
Mhm.
That's what dating. That's what dating is supposed to be all about. Like I said, in Hebrew culture, they didn't have dating.
Mhm.
But as believers, we need to date with purpose.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
need to date with an end goal in mind.
Mhm.
Are you just stringing me along, or are you going to marry me? Are you going to put a ring on it?
Mhm.
You
Right.
know, are you
Okay.
going to put a ring on it? Because um, the the end goal has to be the end goal.
Okay.
It can't It can't just be a slide down the slide or a ride around the merry-go-round.
Mhm. Mhm. Too old for that. I'm too old for that.
Too old.
Too old for. I do not have time for games.
Right.
I'm past a half a century. So once you get past the half a
that,
century,
that
I don't
sounds
know how
good.
many more years I have left. I do not have time to play games with people.
Right.
Either we're going
Right.
to be on the same page or we are not.
We need to be intentional, in other
Absolutely.
words. Absolutely.
Intentional.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I find that it's hard getting to know someone. Sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and sometimes that desperation might peak up a little bit.
Mhm.
And you just want a man, then you just want to sit and go to dinner, look pretty and all this other stuff. The only thing,
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with that, going out to dinner and just or lunch and breakfast and sitting and chatting with someone and having a nice conversation. The only thing
Mhm.
about that is when you prolong that and you know you
Yeah.
want to marry, you can easily develop feelings for someone who may not be good for you.
Yes.
So you got to be careful about that just hanging
Mhm.
out thing because we
Yeah.
women are emotional creatures. We
Yes.
attach very easily. It only
Yeah.
takes the man, all he got to do is say, "Would you mind passing me the biscuit?" And we sitting there saying, "Girl, did you see how he?" And our minds is like, "You
Right.
pass that biscuit," and we sit there and we sit
Right.
there getting all excited over this
Right.
because he smelled good and he had a nice way of passing the biscuit. I'm just,
Right.
I mean, and that's
Right.
most women, when a man is nice to us,
Mm.
we take that on as he loves us already, and it's only been 2 minutes.
And especially if you have not been nurtured or affirmed in your upbringing,
Right, right.
or in your previous relationship,
Mhm, mhm.
or if you come out of your previous relationship, like you said, with an identity crisis, you'd be like, girl, he held the door for me. I'm gonna start making my wedding plans.
Yeah, and you need somebody, and your girlfriend, hopefully she has enough experience to say to you, he should have opened it.
Yes.
So you need to bring that down a little bit. You need an accountability partner to
Yes.
talk to and say, okay, even if when you go out and say, I want to send the right message, call me at 8:45 or send me a text message at
Yes.
8:45 telling me to get out of there. It's time for you to go home. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need someone to keep you in line so you don't fall back into the old behavior. And it's nothing wrong
Yes.
because we don't have all the answers. We don't
Right.
know a lot of times. We don't know all the red flags. All of us don't have the experience. You have some of your friends who have the experience and they can read people and they know what certain things mean. Even your fellas. If you got fellas in your family and you
Mm-hmm.
explain to them what happened, they'll tell you exactly what it is because they are men. They know how men think.
Right.
So when
Right.
you tell them a certain scenario and what this man did and what he said, I guarantee you right off the bat, your cousin, your brother, your father, whomever's in your life,
Mm-hmm.
tell you what that means and how you should respond to whatever have you. Get some
Right.
help. Don't go out here blind and stuff like that and doing dating, especially when you're new to it
Right.
and your womb is still fresh. It's still a fresh,
Mhm.
it's still,
Yes. That can be dangerous. And I know
yes,
one of the things we were going to talk about is the danger of unhealed dating.
yes. Yes,
Those are dangers.
yes.
Danger. Remember, there used to be that old show, I'm dating myself, Lost in Space with the robot. Danger, danger, danger. Well, you know what? We need a robot to do that because sometimes we have our blinders on, and because we are unhealed, we're just bumping around, you
Yep.
know,
Like we
bumping
walking in the
around.
dark. Yeah.
Right. Walk groping, I
Right.
call it groping.
Mhm.
And when you're groping in the dark place, sometimes you can find the wrong thing. You can find a foot and you think it's a hand, or you can grab somebody's elbow and you think it's their knee. Okay. So totally disorientated. That's the danger of dating unhealed. You're disorientated and you'll end up being confused and you'll end up getting hurt again
And you didn't hear the man
eventually.
tell you that he is not looking for a relationship. You didn't
Mm.
hear him say that.
Right,
And you want to be married, and this man
right.
just said that he is not looking for a relationship, but because he keeps calling you,
Yes.
he keeps being nice to you, y'all keep hanging out, you think this is a relationship. He just said at the very beginning that you did not hear because you
Yes.
want to fill
Yeah.
that void. That desperation kicks in and says, well, I thought I heard that, but he's just being so nice. And we've gone out 5 and 6 times. The man
Hmm.
said that he don't want a relationship.
Right.
Listen, you gotta listen, but sometimes we don't, because like you said, those blinders are on.
Right.
Healing tells us that I need somebody right now. I'm lonely and I want companionship now. I do not have time to be alone. It's just too much for me. And some people cannot. Some people have a hard time staying by themselves. They just cannot fathom being, even though they're not in a relationship, they got to hang out with somebody every day, whether it's a girlfriend or it's a male friend or a cousin, or they got to be on the phone 24 hours.
Mhm.
And some people just don't. And there's value in being by yourself. Nobody said be a hermit.
Right.
It's okay to be alone by yourself, to have your own thoughts. That's how you get to know yourself.
Right.
Your mind and all that quiet, your voice speaks louder and it's telling you how it thinks.
Yes.
So you'll have these phrases and thoughts pop up in your brain that say certain things. You're like, no, wait a minute.
Hmm.
Do I really think that way?
Yeah.
Really? And you have an awareness of how you are as a person and possibly what you may need to change. And maybe that's why relationships might not be working for you, is because your mindset needs to change. Maybe there's something about you that needs to change. And it's not going to if you keep jumping from relationship to relationship to relationship. You're not going to fix those things. You
And
got.
that's part of finding purpose in
Mhm.
your singleness. Um you know sometimes not having purpose after loss
Mhm.
um can be so empty. It can make the emptiness seem emptier,
Mhm.
if I'm saying it right. But when we find the purpose of our singleness, it's that I am. Who who are you? I am.
Mhm.
And that's the place where you find your purposefulness.
Mhm.
And when you find that purposefulness, you find that peace and you are confident in your identity.
Mhm.
And that helps to move you forward. That helps to give you it's like the fuel in your tank to
Mhm.
go forward,
Mhm.
if I might say. And so um, it's important that we invest in that.
It really is. And I don't think people understand how important it is. It really, really is important for you to have me time and not selfish time, not everything's all about me and all, you know what I mean? Self-care is important. And people don't,
Yeah.
self-care is
Oh,
important.
it is
It is
so important.
important. You've got to nurture yourself on a
Hmm.
daily basis. You've got to find time every day, even if it's just 15 minutes.
Hmm.
Talk to anybody, sit by yourself quietly, eyes closed, deep
Hmm.
breaths, outside, preferably, get some fresh air, and
Hmm.
just 15 minutes. You'd be surprised how you
Yes.
reset very, very nicely when you just take breaths and you just sit by yourself and don't listen to others talk and it's just quiet.
Hmm.
That's when God, your Father, comes in and He tells you
Hmm.
what it is you need to hear.
Hmm.
He whispers, like you might have had questions that you need answers to.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't asked anybody what those answers are. And you
Mm-hmm.
quietly, and you haven't, asked those questions to anyone out loud, and you'll be sitting there one day, and all of a sudden you'll get your answer, your aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
Clarity. You gain clarity in being single.
Yes.
It's clarity. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
clarity that you did not have. Most people, can't say all people, but most people have not had that clarity before they got in a relationship. They didn't have it when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
But when you afterwards, and you're single after the divorce, after
Mm-hmm.
the passing of your loved one, comes clarity because of
Yeah.
all the experiences and stuff that you've endured in that time alone. All of it comes together and kind of makes sense. And you have the aha, this is what I should be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
There has to be an epiphany at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there has to be a light that comes on. And then you realize, wow, you know, okay, I'm going to be all right.
Right.
Because a lot of what you're feeling is uncertainty, unsafety, and a woman's most primary need is to feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And after your loss, whether it be through death or divorce or whatever, we oftentimes feel very unsafe, very unsure of ourselves. And that clarity is really important in helping us to move forward. I know that it's helped me to understand the kind of love that I need
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of love that I want at this phase in my life. I was watching TV the other morning, and they were talking about Cher,
Mm-hmm.
and she turned 80
Oh,
last
what?
week, 80
Okay.
years old.
Oh, yeah.
And, her, being a movie star, a big movie star, TV star for so many years, she can have whatever she wants. Not to say it's right or wrong, but Cher's boyfriend is 37.
Okay. All right, Miss Cher. Do your thing now, okay?
And and maybe that's what she needs at this point in her life, but she seems very confident
Okay.
in her lifestyle, and I'm only using that as a pictorial example, but you know, we have to eventually get to the point where we understand the kind of love that we need,
Mhm. And not
right?
embarrassed to ask for it or wait.
Right. And then, you think back and think over your past relationships, and you think, was that just what I got? Or did I really want that? Did I really want that?
Mhm.
Because sometimes you go to the lot to buy a car, and what you go in knowing what you want, and by the time the salesman uh, gets through talking to you, you've been talked into something else.
Mhm.
Oh, well, you came in wanting uh, a station wagon or a SUV, but you really don't need that, because you don't have. But these people know nothing about you,
Mhm.
and they're talking you into something they want you to have because financially they want to accomplish their goals and
And they
not
can see that you're
yours.
uncertain. They can see
Right.
you're uncertain.
They sense you and smell your uncertainty, and
Absolutely.
they
Just like
feed
some of
off
these
of
people,
it.
these guys out here, sisters, they
Right.
they can, it's like a shark in the water. They
Yes.
know, they
They
can
smell blood.
are a person who is uncertain of who they are. They can
Yes.
tell that you're unhealed. They can sense the wounds that you have in your spirit. They all of that can be sensed. They can sense that.
Yes.
Tell it. So when you say when they wait a minute, because I heard somebody on TV say is when they say it was Steve Harvey. he said men are very intentional. He said when they approach you, they already know why they're approaching you before they even.
Yes.
And he said when a man says to you, I just had to come over here and say hello. And Steve Harvey said, turn around and say, so what is it that you had to come over here and talk to me?
Yeah.
And he said, don't fall for it. Don't fall.
Yeah. Right.
They're intentional. That's why you have to get yourself together, because you will be like a little sardine.
A victim.
A victim, absolutely.
You'll be a victim.
And
You'll
people think
be,
we are kidding when we say that. People can
yeah.
sense your insecurities. They can sense it.
Yes.
Sense it. Because I know I can. I
Mhm.
couldn't before, but I can look at people now. They don't have to say not one word. Their
Mhm.
energy tells me that they're insecure.
Mhm.
I can just feel it. I can just feel it. I'm like, oh, okay. And that's how I know how to approach someone in conversation, or what to say and what not to say, because they're already sensitive. Their wounds are open, and I know that.
Mhm.
It's my responsibility not to wound them any further, not to say
Mhm.
anything that's going to trigger them or for whatever. But a lot of people are not compassionate nowadays. Everybody is out for self for the most part. So you got to be intentional about your healing. We are pushing this tonight. You've got to take your time to be alone for a bit. A bit. Trust me,
Mhm.
you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll get
Yeah.
through it.
You'll get through it.
Mhm. Definitely.
You always ask me, do you have any sources or resources you want to leave with
Absolutely. That was going to be my next question.
at the end of our conversation? And I love quotes. I
Mhm.
absolutely love quotes. And some of the best quotes, um, I go online and I look up, when I need inspiration.
Mhm.
Um, and I just need something quick, I'll look up quotes. So Natalie Portman says, smart women love smart men more than smart men love smart women.
Wow, that's true. 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 Yeah, because you can't get over on a smart woman.
Yes, yes.
So
A
you got.
smart a
Mhm.
smart woman is the best. It is there's riches can't outweigh a smart woman.
And it's not even always about academics.
No.
People think, when you say smart, it's about book smart. No, not
Mhm.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
It
A
could be
woman,
about your clarity, like you said,
absolutely.
clarity, being clear, being concise, being knowing what you want and knowing how to get to that point, achieve that goal.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's self-taught.
Mhm.
Life experience teaches you that.
Mhm.
So, uh,
Absolutely.
another great quote. Here's one by Wayne um, Dyer, and he said, "Real magic in relationships means an absence of judgment of others."
That's nice. That's a good.
So, if you're looking to perpetuate a relationship, lead with love and
Mhm.
not with judgment.
Mhm. Mhm.
Lead with love and not with judgment. And that will take the friction. We talked earlier about being fitly joined together. It'll take the friction out of it. If you take away the judgment. And judgment is just another word from comparison. And we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, because we're not we're both people are human. you're gonna make mistakes. So you guys in there judging one another back and forth about who's wrong or who, trying to be right and all this stuff, it's not gonna work. That's definitely not gonna work. You don't want anyone that comes in and starts to judge you, and you don't want to go into a relationship judging somebody else based on your previous relationship that you had with your partner.
Mhm.
Definitely not. That's why it's important to heal.
Yes.
You are healed within you. Do not compare your previous relationship, the person that you had a relationship with previously, to the new one, because you understand this is a
Yes.
person, and you
Yeah.
expect the fact that, and you don't expect them to be like your previous partner.
Yes. That's right. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Mhm.
So thank you, Miss Erica. Thank you for so much for inviting me, having me back again. I so enjoy our conversations. I so enjoy your audience and their comments, their feedback, and I look forward to hearing from them on this segment. I'm kind of curious what they'll have to say.
Me too, now. I'm curious as well. So we want to say, Sheila and I, thank you so much for watching this video. And you, as usual, I have created a resource page for this season in your life. So the link is in the bio. You can go there and you can download the resources for free. They're open to anyone. And if you know someone who could use the resources, please share this video and please share those resources with them. Hopefully, it'll help them out in this evening. I want to thank you again for watching the video. Hope you get something from it. Hope it benefits your life in some kind of way. And we will see you soon. So long. Bye.
Bye bye.